The footage didn't make sense. Wade Granger rewound the trail camera clip for the 11th time, sitting in his truck at 5:30 in the morning with his coffee going cold in the cup holder. The timestamp read 3:14 a.m. The infrared image was grainy but unmistakable. His bull, a 9-year-old registered Charolais named Porter, was lying down in the southeast corner of the night pasture. And next to him, curled against the bull's side like a barn cat against a warm radiator, was a leopard. Not a bobcat. Not a mountain lion. A leopard. Rosettes visible on the coat even in the washed-out green of the night vision. A full-grown African leopard, maybe 140 pounds, pressed against the flank of a 2,000-pound bull. Both animals were calm. Porter's eyes were half closed. The leopard's head rested on its front paws. They were sleeping. Together. In a cattle pasture in Uvalde County, Texas. Wade sat in his truck for a long time. Then he called his wife. Diane, I need you to come look at something. And I need you to not think I've lost my mind. 3 weeks earlier, Wade had no idea any of this was coming. The Granger Ranch sat on 600 acres of mesquite and live oak country southwest of Uvalde, about 90 miles from the Mexican border. Wade's family had run cattle there since his grandfather bought the original section in 1947. 3 generations of Grangers working the same caliche soil, breathing the same dry hill country air, building fence lines that Wade's father started and Wade would probably never finish. Wade was 56, lean from decades of work, not from a gym. His hands looked like they'd been carved from the same limestone that ran under his property. He ran a cow-calf operation. 90 Charolais cross cows, a handful of replacement heifers, and Porter. Porter was the best bull Wade had ever owned. Maybe the best bull anyone in Uvalde County had ever owned. Registered Charolais, solid white, 2,200 pounds of calm, efficient genetics. His calves were uniform, fast-growing, and easy to handle at weaning. But what made Porter exceptional wasn't his offspring. It was his temperament. In 9 years, Porter had never charged a handler, never broken a fence, never caused a single incident during working or loading. He'd walk into a squeeze chute like he was walking into his own living room. Calm. Patient. Like he understood that cooperation made everything easier for everyone. The veterinarian, Dr. Ellis Hardaway, once told Wade that Porter had the lowest cortisol levels he'd ever measured in a working bull. That animal has the stress response of a retired golden retriever, Ellis said. Whatever's going on in his brain, he's figured out something the rest of us haven't. Wade took it as a compliment, though he wasn't sure who it was directed at. The first sign of trouble came on a Sunday evening in early October. Wade was driving the perimeter road checking fence when he found the kill site. A white-tailed doe, partially consumed, dragged under a mesquite thicket near the southeast corner of the ranch. The carcass showed large puncture marks on the neck and shoulders. The drag pattern was wrong for coyotes. Too organized, too strong. Whatever took this deer down was big, powerful, and efficient. Wade knelt beside the remains. His first thought was mountain lion. They existed in the hill country, though sightings were rare this far south. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department acknowledged a breeding population in the Trans-Pecos region, but Uvalde County was considered fringe territory. Possible, but uncommon. He called Ellis Hardaway, who doubled as the county's informal wildlife consultant. Ellis drove out that evening. He examined the carcass for 15 minutes without speaking. Then he stood up and brushed off his knees. "That's not a mountain lion kill," Ellis said. "What do you mean? Bite pattern's wrong. Mountain lions suffocate their prey. They clamp down on the throat and hold. This animal used a neck bite but also has claw marks on the shoulders consistent with a different hunting style. And look at the drag marks. This deer was carried, not dragged. A mountain lion would drag it. Whatever did this picked it up." Wade felt his stomach tighten. What picks up a 100-pound deer? Ellis looked at him. A leopard could. A jaguar could. Something in that weight class with the jaw strength and climbing ability to carry prey. "There aren't leopards in Uvalde County, Ellis." "No, there shouldn't be." But Ellis pulled out his phone. 3 months ago, a private exotic animal facility in Del Rio lost 2 animals during a storm. Fencing failure. They recovered one, a young male leopard. The female was never found. Del Rio was 60 miles west. Ellis continued. The facility reported it to Parks and Wildlife, but the search was scaled back after 2 weeks with no sightings. The assumption was the animal didn't survive. Female leopard, approximately 4 years old, estimated weight between 130 and 150 pounds. 140-pound leopard on my ranch, with my cattle. Ellis nodded slowly. It's possible. Leopards are incredibly adaptive. They can survive in almost any terrain with sufficient prey. Your ranch has deer, feral hogs, rabbits, plenty of food. And leopards are nocturnal. You'd never see her during the day. What about my calves? That's the concern. Leopards are opportunistic. A spring calf would be an easy target. You need to bring your calf pairs into the closest pasture, increase night checks, and set up trail cameras. If there's a leopard here, we need to confirm it and contact Parks and Wildlife. Wade spent the next 2 days setting up trail cameras at 8 locations around the ranch, focusing on the southeast section where the deer kill occurred. He moved his calf pairs to the north pasture closest to the house, and he started sleeping light. Lighter than usual, which for a rancher was already pretty light. The first 3 nights of camera footage showed the usual cast of characters: coyotes, javelinas, raccoons, a family of feral hogs rooting along the creek bed. No leopard. Night 4 changed everything. Camera 6, positioned on a fence post overlooking the southeast pasture where Wade kept Porter and a group of dry cows, captured the image at 1:47 a.m. A leopard, female based on size, rosette pattern clearly visible on golden brown fur. She was moving along the fence line, not inside the pasture, but outside it, walking the perimeter. Slowly, deliberately, like she was studying the layout. Wade's stomach dropped when he saw it. He called Ellis immediately. Got it on camera. Southeast pasture fence line. She's here. Ellis came out within the hour. They reviewed the footage together on Wade's laptop at the kitchen table. She's scouting, Ellis said, learning the property. Look at her movement pattern. She's not hunting. She's mapping. That's typical leopard behavior when they're establishing territory. They'll patrol boundaries for days before settling in. How long has she been here? Based on the deer kill 3 weeks ago and the fact that she's already comfortable enough to walk fence lines in the open. Probably a month, maybe longer. Wade exhaled. A month. A leopard had been living on his ranch for a month and he'd had no idea. Ellis made the call to Texas Parks and Wildlife the next morning. The response was immediate but frustrating. A regional wildlife biologist named Sandra Keene was assigned to the case. She drove down from San Antonio with a colleague and spent 2 days surveying the ranch. Mr. Granger, we can confirm the animal is the missing female from the Del Rio facility. Sandra was professional but honest. We want to capture and relocate her, but leopards are extremely difficult to trap. They're cautious, intelligent, and they learn fast. If we rush this with traps and she has a bad experience, she'll go deep and we may never find her. So what's the plan? Baited cage traps at multiple locations, monitoring, patience. We'll also bring in a big cat specialist from the Dallas Zoo who has experience with capture protocols for leopards. How long? Sandra hesitated. Could be weeks, could be months. Leopards have been known to avoid traps for years in some cases. I've got cattle out there. I understand, but your cattle may actually be safer than you think. This leopard has access to deer and hogs. She's not going to risk confronting a 2,000-pound bull or a protective cow when easier prey is available. Leopards are smart. They choose the path of least resistance. Wade wasn't entirely convinced, but he trusted Sandra's expertise. The traps went up, baited with venison and covered in brush to look natural. 2 Parks and Wildlife cameras were added to Wade's existing network, giving them 12 camera positions total across the southeast section. And that's when the footage got strange. Night 7, after confirming the leopard's presence, camera 6 captured something nobody expected. The leopard appeared at the southeast pasture fence at 12:22 a.m., same patrol route as before, but instead of walking the perimeter and moving on, she stopped, sat down outside the fence, and stared into the pasture. Porter was 50 yards away, grazing in the dark. He lifted his head, looked toward the fence line, and for 4 minutes and 17 seconds, the two animals just looked at each other. Then the leopard got up and left. Wade showed the footage to Ellis. "What is that? I have no idea. She's not hunting him. She's not even inside the fence. She just sat there and watched him. And he watched her back," Ellis added. "Look at his body language. No alarm response. No flight posture. He's not afraid of her. He should be. Probably. But he's not." The next night it happened again. 12:15 a.m. The leopard arrived at the same spot on the fence. Sat down. Porter walked closer this time. Stopped about 30 yards from the fence. They watched each other for 11 minutes. Then the leopard left. Night 3 of this pattern. The leopard sat at the fence. Porter walked to within 20 yards. 13 minutes. No aggression from either animal. Night 4. The leopard came inside the fence. Wade nearly dropped his coffee when he saw the footage. The leopard had found a low point in the wire and slipped under it. She was inside the pasture now, 20 yards from a 2,000-pound bull with nothing between them. Porter didn't move. The leopard walked slowly, belly low, not stalking, but cautious. She stopped 10 yards from the bull, lay down in the grass. Porter lowered his head and went back to grazing. They stayed like that for 45 minutes. Wade called Sandra Keene at Parks and Wildlife. "You need to see this. Now." Sandra drove down the next day with the big cat specialist, Dr. Rajan Mehta, who'd flown in from Dallas. They reviewed a week's worth of footage in Wade's living room, with the curtains drawn and the big TV showing clip after clip of increasingly intimate encounters between a bull and a leopard. "This is unprecedented, Doctor," Mehta said quietly. He'd worked with big cats for 20 years at the Dallas Zoo, consulted on leopard conservation projects in India and southern Africa. "I've seen leopards coexist with livestock in rural India and parts of Africa, but coexistence typically means avoidance. Leopards stay away from large animals they can't take down. This is something else." "What is it?" Wade asked. "Affiliation. She's seeking proximity to him specifically. She's not interested in the cows. Watch." He pointed at the screen where the leopard passed within 20 feet of 3 cows without a glance, but walked directly to Porter. "She's chosen him." "Why?" Dr. Mehta sat back. "In my experience, solitary animals that have been hand-raised in captivity sometimes seek comfort from large, calm animals. They've been socialized with humans and other species from birth. Normal fear responses are muted. This leopard was raised in a private facility, which likely means she was handled from a young age, possibly bottle-fed, possibly raised with other non-predator species." "You think she's lonely?" Diane said from the doorway. She'd been listening without coming in. Dr. Mehta looked at her. "I think she's been alone for 4 months since escaping. No troop, no companion, no human contact. Leopards are solitary by nature, but captive-raised leopards develop social needs that wild leopards don't have. She found the largest, calmest presence on this ranch, and she attached to it." "And Porter?" Wade asked. "Why isn't he afraid of her?" "That's the part I can't fully explain." Dr. Mehta gestured at the screen. "His stress response should be elevated. He should be showing avoidance behavior, increased vigilance, fence pacing. Instead, he's calm. He's accepting her presence as non-threatening. Either he's an exceptionally low reactivity animal, or he's perceiving something about her that tells him she's not a threat. His cortisol levels are abnormally low for a bull," Ellis offered. "Always have been. He's the calmest bovine I've ever worked with. That could explain part of it. An animal with naturally low stress reactivity might not trigger the flight response that a typical bull would show toward a predator, especially a predator that's not displaying any hunting behavior." Sandra Keene had been quiet through most of this. Now she spoke. "The problem is capture. We set 4 traps. She's avoided all of them. She's too smart, too cautious. But now she's entering a cattle pasture every night. If she escalates, if she decides a calf is easier than a deer—" "She won't," Dr. Mehta said. "Not while she has this bond with the bull." She's getting something from this relationship that she values. Social comfort. She won't risk it by hunting near him. You can't guarantee that. No, I can't. But I've watched leopards for 2 decades, and this animal is not in hunting mode when she's near that bull. She's in resting mode, comfort mode. She's treating him like a companion. Wade stood up. So what do we do? Dr. Mehta and Sandra exchanged a look. Then Dr. Mehta said something that surprised everyone. Use the bull. What? She trusts the bull. She comes to him every night, same time, same place. Instead of setting traps she'll never enter. We use her bond with Porter. Set the capture system near his resting spot. Let her come to him as she always does. And when she's settled, when she's relaxed and off guard because she's next to the one thing in this landscape she trusts, we sedate her. You want to use my bull as bait, Wade said. Not bait. Anchor. There's a difference. We're not putting him at risk. We're using the relationship she's already established to get close enough for a safe capture. It's the most humane option. No chase, no stress, no risk of injury to her or your cattle. Wade looked at Diane. She nodded slowly. If it's the safest way for everyone, including her. It took 5 days to set up. Dr. Mehta designed the capture protocol himself. A portable dart system positioned 30 yards from Porter's usual resting spot in the southeast corner, concealed in brush. A veterinary team on standby with sedation drugs, monitoring equipment, and a transport crate rated for large felids. Wade was asked to keep his routine exactly the same. Don't move, Porter. Don't change anything. Let the leopard believe nothing has changed. The hardest part was the waiting. Night 1 of the capture setup. The leopard didn't come. The team sat in Wade's barn watching the camera feeds on laptops, drinking bad coffee and saying nothing. She didn't appear until 2 a.m., and when she did, she walked the fence line once and left. Didn't enter the pasture. She knows something's different, Sandra said. Dr. Mehta disagreed. She's being cautious. Leopards vary their routines naturally. Give it time. Night 2. The leopard entered the pasture at 1:37 a.m., walked to Porter, lay down beside him. The capture team held their breath in the barn, watching the infrared feed. Dr. Mehta studied the image. Not yet. She's alert. See how her ears are rotating? She's listening for threats. If we dart her now and she runs, we'll never get another chance. We need her fully relaxed. They waited. At 2:15, the leopard's head dropped onto her paws. Her breathing slowed. Her ears stopped moving. Now, Sandra whispered. 2 more minutes. Let her drop deeper. At 2:19 a.m., Dr. Mehta gave the signal. The dart operator, a parks and wildlife specialist named Cole, who'd made over 200 successful big cat sedations, fired a single dart from the concealed position. The dart hit the leopard in the left hindquarter. She jerked upright. For one terrible second, Wade thought she was going to bolt. But she turned, not toward the fence, toward Porter. She pressed herself against the bull's side. Porter didn't move, didn't stand, didn't startle. He turned his massive white head and looked down at the leopard pushing against him, and he just stayed. The sedation took 4 minutes. The leopard's movements slowed. Her eyes grew heavy. She slumped against Porter's flank, then slid gently to the ground beside him. Porter sniffed her, pressed his nose against her side, then lifted his head and looked toward the barn where the team was watching, as if he knew. Wade's eyes burned. He didn't wipe them. Didn't need to explain anything to anyone in that barn. The team moved quickly. Dr. Mehta checked the leopard's vitals while the veterinary crew prepared the transport crate. Sandra documented everything on camera for parks and wildlife records. The leopard was healthy, well-fed from months of hunting deer and hogs, no injuries, no diseases, a perfectly adapted predator who'd survived 4 months alone in the Texas hill country. She's remarkable, Doctor, Mehta said, running his hands along her coat as they prepared to move her. 4 months in unfamiliar terrain, no human support, no knowledge of the landscape. And she not only survived, she found companionship. in the most unlikely place with the most unlikely partner. Where will she go? Wade asked. A accredited big cat sanctuary in North Carolina. Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge in Arkansas is also an option. Both have excellent facilities for leopards with captive backgrounds. She'll have proper enclosures, veterinary care, and companionship with other cats. Will she be okay? Dr. Mehta looked at Wade. She'll be safe. That's the best we can promise. The team loaded the leopard into the transport crate. She was still sedated, breathing evenly, her rosette coat rising and falling in the glow of the team's headlamps. As they carried the crate past the southeast pasture, Porter was standing at the fence. He'd gotten up sometime during the capture process and walked to the fence line closest to where the team was working. His white form was almost luminous in the darkness. "He knows," Diane said. She'd come out of the house in a bathrobe and boots, standing next to Wade in the cold 2 a.m. air. Wade put his arm around her. "Yeah, he knows." Porter stood at that fence for 3 hours after the team left. Didn't graze, didn't lie down, just stood at the spot where the leopard used to slip under the wire, and waited. She didn't come. The next night, Porter was at the fence again. Same spot, same time, waiting. Night 3, same. Wade watched the camera footage each morning and felt something he wasn't used to feeling. Not worry exactly, more like recognition. He'd seen that kind of waiting before. In people. When someone they relied on stopped showing up and they didn't know why. He called Dr. Mehta a week after the capture. "Doc, my bull's been standing at the fence every night where the leopard used to come in. Same time, same spot. He's waiting for her." A long pause. That's consistent with what we know about bovine social bonds. Cattle form attachments. When those attachments are broken abruptly, they exhibit searching behavior. It usually resolves within 2 to 3 weeks. And if it doesn't? Another pause. "Then I'd like to come back and see him, if you'd allow it." 3 weeks passed. Porter was still going to the fence every night. Dr. Mehta returned. He brought a colleague from Texas A&M's Animal Behavior Department, a professor named Dr. Lena Vasquez, who specialized in interspecies social bonds. They observed Porter for 2 days, reviewed 3 weeks of camera footage, documented his nightly routine. The walk to the fence at approximately 12:30 a.m., the standing vigil, the return to the herd at dawn. "He's exhibiting sustained affiliative searching," Dr. Vasquez said. "This isn't casual. This is a genuine bond disruption. Your bull formed a social attachment to that leopard, and he's mourning her absence." "Mourning?" Wade said. "Can bulls mourn?" The research says yes. Cattle show measurable behavioral and physiological changes when bonded partners are removed. Increased cortisol, reduced feeding, repetitive location seeking. Porter is showing all 3. "What do I do?" Dr. Vasquez thought about it. "Time. Increased social interaction with herd mates. Environmental enrichment if possible. And this might sound unusual, but a physical reminder of the leopard's scent might help him transition." Wade stared. "You want me to give my bull a blanket that smells like a leopard?" "Something like that." Animals process loss through sensory channels. Scent is the strongest one. A gradual fading of the scent could help him let go naturally rather than abruptly. Sandra Keene at Parks and Wildlife arranged for a piece of bedding from the leopard's transport crate to be sent to the ranch. Wade placed it near Porter's resting spot in the southeast corner. That night, the camera showed Porter walking to his usual fence post. Then pausing. His head dropped. He sniffed the ground where the bedding was placed. He stood there for a long time, not at the fence, but at the bedding. Then he lay down next to it. He didn't go to the fence that night. Over the following 2 weeks, Porter spent less and less time at the fence. He returned to his normal routines gradually, grazing, resting with the herd, walking the perimeter like he'd done for 9 years before the leopard arrived. But he never fully stopped. Even now, 3 months later, Porter walks to the southeast corner around midnight. Not every night, maybe twice a week. He stands at the spot where the wire sags low, where a golden shadow used to slip through and curl against his side. He stands there for 10, maybe 15 minutes. Then he turns and walks back to the herd. Wade watches the footage every morning. He doesn't talk about it much, but one evening on the porch, Diane asked him why he still checks the cameras. Wade took a while to answer. Because I want to know if he's okay. He's a bull, Wade. He's fine. Wade looked at her. He's not just a bull. You saw what I saw. That animal let a predator sleep next to him because he understood she needed it. He stood at a fence for 3 weeks waiting for something that wasn't coming back because the connection mattered to him. That's not just a bull. He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Dr. Maida published a paper the following year, Interspecies Affiliative Behavior Between a Domestic Bull and a Captive Origin Leopard, Observations from an Accidental Cohabitation in Rural Texas. The paper documented the nightly visits, the physical proximity, Porter's post-separation behavior, and the scent transition protocol. It was cited 37 times in its first 6 months. Researchers in India, South Africa, and Brazil referenced it in studies about predator-livestock relationships and the emotional complexity of domestic cattle. Wade didn't read the paper. Diane summarized it for him. They're saying Porter is evidence that cattle can form emotional bonds across species lines, even with natural predators. That it challenges the assumption that prey animals are incapable of complex social attachments. Wade nodded, poured more coffee, looked out the window toward the southeast pasture where a white bull stood alone in the morning light. Didn't need a paper to tell me that. The leopard is at the sanctuary in Arkansas now. She has a name. The facility staff call her Sable. She shares a habitat with another female leopard and has adapted well to sanctuary life. She'll never be released into the wild. She's too habituated to humans and too accustomed to captivity for that. But she's safe, and she's not alone anymore. And in Uvalde County, Texas, on 600 acres of mesquite and limestone, a white bull still walks to the southeast corner some nights, stands at the low spot in the wire, listens to the hill country wind move through the live oaks. He doesn't wait as long as he used to, but he still goes. And Wade still watches, because some bonds don't make sense. A bull and a leopard, prey and predator, 2,000 pounds of calm next to 140 pounds of something that should have been terrifying, but it wasn't terrifying. It was 2 animals alone in the dark, finding in each other something that neither their instincts nor their biology could explain. And that might be the most honest kind of connection there is. The kind that doesn't ask permission, doesn't follow rules, doesn't care about species or size or what's supposed to be possible. It just shows up, night after night, until it can't anymore. And even then, even after it's gone, you still walk to the fence, just in case.